New card. What do you think?
Get over here! Hadouken!
That man is playing Galaga.
I understood that reference.
You shall not pass!
So say we all.
So say we all. Ride with me.
It's adamantium-tasting time, boys!
Well, make it so, number one.
All wings report in.
And welcome to your weekly interval. This is the Best Damn Nerd Show. I'm your host, Jedi Master James Kincaid. With me tonight, Hall of Fame cyber athlete Jonathan Craig.
Howdy there.
Also Microphone Alchemist. I don't know which title to go with anymore. I'm getting mixed reviews on it, much like what we're going to be discussing tonight, which is Wonder Woman 1984. Also with me, Professor Chris Davis, Lone Gunman Chris Davis, Coach Davis, if you've just listened to our Jocks versus Nerds episode. How you doing, Chris?
I'm lovely. I actually don't remember recording that episode when you released it, and then somebody said I was on it, and I was highly confused.
Well,
do we record that like in the middle of your COVID fever?
I must have been.
You have to be a little bit more specific, John.
Yeah, which strain are you
Davis
talking
has
about?
had it multiple times, I believe.
Yeah.
How go the super spreader events, Davis?
They're slowing down, oddly enough.
As Davis is wandering away from his computer right now as we're starting this episode.
No, I'm in my own body tonight. There's no body snatching or anything like that, and I'm doing well.
Great. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm poking my head up for air from World of Warcraft Shadowlands to take part in this episode recording. So it's a welcome break, but don't want it to run too long because I need to get back in there.
Yeah, how has that been treating you?
It's been fun, man. It's been I've played the last couple expansions now, and this is definitely the most fun that I've had. They've done like a lot of quality of life kind of improvements on like getting gear and stuff like that, and you can. It's definitely a choose your own adventure game at this point. Like you can really play in a variety of ways and have fun, and it's casual friendly, but if you want to be like a hardcore raider and do that thing, like you can.
It's no Skyrim, as we're discussing off air.
It's not. Yeah. It's not.
Looking forward to getting back into that world when the next one comes out. We just have to cancel the show again. Little that probably led to the decline of Best Damn Nerd Show more than anything. I don't need those fucks out here. I got my Nord in Skyrim.
You have a podcast group in Skyrim.
Oh, that would be tremendous. And just right off the top, shout out to our Discord, bestdamnnerdshow.com/Discord. We've been having a lot of fun just chatting in there about a myriad of topics. Your tinfoil hat room, Davis, is popping off. The anime channel is, doing record numbers. So that suggestion was a good one.
Check it in the afternoon and it has like 45 notifications. I'm like, Jesus Christ, these anime nerds are getting out of control in our Discord.
I have muted 2 channels in Discord to not get notifications, and that is one.
Oh wait, let me guess. The anime one, because you just revealed that. I'm gonna guess that the other one is pro wrestling.
Ding ding, nailed it.
Dude, the pro wrestling one's barely even active.
Yeah,
Davis,
but you guys
come
put
on.
some bullshit in there.
We do not.
Back when you started it, it was going off, and I was like, I cannot take this right now.
There was only one discussion that I can recall on the pro wrestling channel, and that's when somebody there was like some slander about Vince McMahon going down, and I had to correct it. That's all. But I am surprised, coming on the heels of the Predator making an appearance at the Nerdies, Davis, I'm surprised to hear that you would betray your highest-rated alter ego and mute the wrestling channel.
Who? He's just an acquaintance of mine. He, yes,
Davis,
we know
method.
each other, but I don't want to be seen in the same grouping as him. You should see the super spreader events he goes to. It's
I can only imagine. Well, let's segue right out of that before we go any further. We are here tonight to talk about Wonder Woman 1984, but before we get into that movie, let's talk for a few minutes at least about Wonder Woman that came out in 2017. What were your guys' thoughts on it and things of that nature? Because I'll go ahead and start out. I think that Wonder Woman from 2017 has aged very, very well. And I actually think I like it more now than I did when it first came out. When it first came out, maybe it was the fact that the person I went to see it with really didn't like it, so it sort of skewed my opinion of it. Maybe it was the fact that a taxi cab driver verbally attacked us outside of the theater, calling us Uber queens when we were waiting for an Uber. This again, 2017, so it was the Wild West. Taxi cabs were still very flustered by this phenomenon of Uber and Lyft. But be that as it may, I've gone back and I've rewatched it, and a lot of the criticisms and things that I took issue with, they don't bother me nearly as much now, and I actually really enjoyed that movie quite a bit. Is it a Captain America: The First Avenger ripoff? In a lot of ways, still yes. But you know what? If you're gonna steal from the best. That's one of my favorite movies. So good on you, Wonder Woman.
Why is it a ripoff of Captain America?
Looking at the poor man's Howling Commandos that they link up with in the movie, right down to the finale scene with all of them together. Instead of to the captain, it's them at the little board with Steve Trevor's photo. Even Steve Trevor having to fly a plane and sacrifice himself, and they're definitely, they sort of split Captain America and Steve Rogers into two different people in that movie with Diana and Steve Trevor. Look, it's not a direct ripoff, but there are some similarities, and I know they're both period, one dealing with World War I, one dealing with World War II and everything like that. But that's more just to say that the first Avenger is the superior movie. But I loved Wonder Woman going back now. I think it's one of the better DC movies out there. The chemistry between Diana and Steve is top notch. Those scenes,
Chris Pine, right? Steve.
Chris Pine is Steve, and Gal Gadot is Diana.
Not other guy Steve that we get.
Not other guy Steve. No, yeah, we'll get to that later on. But all of their scenes together, and the goodbye towards the end, and how she the device of them not letting the audience hear what he said at first, as she sort of was shell shocked by it. I don't know. It's really good. If you haven't watched it in a while, go back and rewatch it. But what did you think, John, of the first Wonder Woman?
I really enjoyed it. I just thought it was all around a good movie. Gal Gadot was hot as can be as Wonder Woman, which is always important and helps the viewing experience. And it wasn't there wasn't a lot of depth to it, but I thought that was okay. It was just a fun action movie, had a little bit of story in it. I think the series doesn't go super far into the whole Amazonian thing. It's more they seem to be leaning more into fish out of water. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it worked really, really well in that original one.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring in sort of one of the things I think about both of these movies that they could have done better is, shocker coming from me, is give me more lore. Give me more Greek god lore. Yeah. And to sort of put over, I think would make stuff more meaningful in the end of both of these movies.
Yeah.
If they gave us
I don't
more
want to put the cart before the horse, because we're going to get into this recent one later on. And I think that they should have leaned way more heavily into it in the second movie than they did. But yeah, I mean, in the first one, they kind of teased it. You get into it a little bit, but I thought that the fish out of water, putting her in World War I, when some of this technology even was new, mm-hmm. and was kind of being experimented with in a sense in this World War, that was interesting. That was an interesting setting to pluck her out of the Amazonian world and put her in. That was definitely an interesting setting for the story, and the story was fine,
I actually think that, and we've talked about this in years gone by, but putting a superhero movie in a different time period, I think helps the movie a lot in most cases, because I think it helps the buy-in from the audience, the suspension of disbelief, because you're already in a sort of alien world to begin with. So it's just, you're right there in it, and you're sort of, it's easier for you to look through the eyes of, that particular character, I feel like. So I do think especially the World War I timeline was a good choice.
Do you guys remember that Martin Lawrence movie? Was it The Black Knight?
The Black Knight.
Yes. That's how they need to do the next. That's how they should have done Black Panther too. You know what I mean?
Oh my!
Send it back to medieval times and they have him flick a lighter.
Yeah, maybe we'll just get a remake of that. Good Lord, Davis, what did you think of the original or I guess the 2017 Wonder Woman, I should say?
Yeah, no, I still have a good place in my heart for it. I liked it when it came out. It wasn't anything revolutionary to me when it came out, and it got I remember it getting incredibly high praise when it
Yeah.
came out, like just outstanding. So going into it, I remember having really high expectations for it, and I can't say that they met those, but it didn't miss completely. I wasn't totally disappointed. I'm not, a DC fanboy, and the lapdog isn't here to talk about that, but yeah, I really...
he's on assignment attending to some very important personal business in the greatest possible way. So I'll just leave it at that.
No. And there wasn't a whole lot when I look back on it that is incredibly memorable, and I think a lot of that had to do with the villain.
Yeah.
When you have a
guy that played Remus
villain.
Lupin.
Yeah, and I love that actor, and I think the twist was.
He wasn't as bad. He wasn't as bad when I rewatched it. The reveal was a lot better than I gave it credit for when I rewatched it, because I remember my first reaction. I saw, this fucking nerd is the God of War. But in rewatching it, they actually visually made it look a lot better. I think that he could have stood to have not obviously seeing who he was, but more flashbacks for Ares to put over how badass he is, like if we had seen the armor before and stuff like that. But I didn't hate it as much as I did originally. I still would have gone with, and he ended up in Justice League, but somebody with a little bit more gravitas, like a Ciarán Hinds, I think could have pulled off Ares.
Are there no just hardcore female villains for her to fight? Like, what
there
is
are Cheetah. We'll get to it. Cheetah is a hardcore female villain. It's just we didn't.
Well, but I mean,
we'll get into
boss
that.
Bitch. I'm not talking about second
little kitty cat
man.
She gets into it with Hera, I think.
Yeah. No, I think I feel like they should have. I don't know, dude. It feels like a missed opportunity. Because the gas bitch was pretty cool.
Professor Dr. Poison.
Yeah, she was pretty cool, and not that I don't know that she could have been the person in command, but maybe the big baddie should have been a woman. In both movies.
I actually, and again, I didn't mind her. I think she was as stupid as I did when I first watched it, and that poor man's Red Skull wasn't as bad either. Upon rewatching,
poor man's Red Skull.
They
dumbass.
But I think
it's got to be related to Captain America.
Yeah, everything comes back to Captain America. I'm gonna slap you in the head with that shield.
I think Davis's point though is well taken. I think part of the problem was too it was very, very hyped when it came out that it was the best thing ever. But now as time has gone on and I've just come back to watch it of my own accord, and dude, this is a really enjoyable, really good movie.
Well,
I think all the joking about the Cap stuff aside, I think it's a really, really good movie.
I mean, let's get real for a second. Part of the reason that it was hyped is because it's a female protagonist. And I think part of the reason people it was so well received in comparison to some of the other stuff that's come out is because the bar is a little bit lower.
I think that it was nobody wants to be the
3-point line is just a little bit closer.
What is the different balls on the golf course?
Yeah. The golf tee is just 20 yards forward. You know what I mean?
Women's basketballs are smaller.
Yeah, the basketball has a few less inches of circumference.
I think that people want to be less first in line to criticize it as well.
For sure, that's exactly what I'm saying.
But again, objectively, I do think it is a really good movie.
Dude, totally. Agree
but not.
Is it excellent?
Not the God's gift to filmmaking.
No, exactly. It's not the best superhero movie, but it's also not. It's far from the worst.
But
right?
fast forward, and it's important to talk about how far we come. Fast forward, and we will be getting into 1984. There ain't no waiting in line for people to criticize the sequel. So the gloves were off. Welcome to the NBA.
Me Too is dead now. Biden got elected, and now it's fuck bitches, give money.
Good Lord.
We don't have to pretend it anymore.
I mean, they were ready to hand Patty Jenkins an Academy Award for that movie. That's how hyped it was. They gave her so much praise, and I'm not. Again, it's a good movie, but
it's not unique to Wonder Woman though. The Dark Knight, which did get Heath Ledger an Oscar after he died, which I don't know if he wins that if he doesn't. Which is tragic as his passing was. I'd rather have him alive than have him have an Oscar. There was that. Wonder Woman got heaped on with a lot of praise. Black Panther got heaped on with a lot of praise, which was a very good movie, but it got nominated for Best Picture, and I don't think that necessarily that was deserved. Yeah. So anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. But we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna leave the original Wonder Woman there, just a little primer to get us ready for how we felt about Wonder Woman 1984. More on the other side on the Best Damn Nerd Show.
Hey everyone, Chris Eglia here, CEO of the Tenno Media Network. I would like to say thank you for checking out one of our podcasts, but we need your help. You can support Tenno in a multitude of ways. By going to our website and checking out our latest podcasts, by buying some sweet merch, joining our Discord, or getting early and exclusive access to all content via our Patreon. Your support means the world to us, and you can find everything on our website, www.ten-o.gg. That's ten-o.gg. Thank you again, and now, back to the show.
It's me, Iron Nerd Min-Maxer, Hanzo Gonzo, inviting you into the Tenno Media Arena to see whose nerdiness will reign we're gonna get sued if you will triumph a lotly. Come check out all the battles on the Tenno Media Network Patreon, or you can just skip to the parts where Steve physically breaks something for no reason. See you there.
Hey nerd. Lore Master Tim here, and I've come with a rather indecent proposal. We want you to join in the conversation. If you aren't already a member of our Discord, what are you even doing? You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TheBDNS. And if you're crazy, odds are we'll talk about it on the show, so get kooky, and above all, let's get nerdy.
Welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. James Kincaid, Chris Davis, John Craig. We are in here to finally get into Wonder Woman 1984, what we thought about the movie, the good, the bad, everything beneath that and in between with Wonder Woman 1984. But before we jump into what we thought about it, what were your expectations coming into the movie, Davis?
I got to say they were kind of tamed after a little while. Like, I definitely wanted a second Wonder Woman movie. As we just mentioned, the first one was good. And obviously Wonder Woman is a great character. But after the trailers and the snapshots started to come out, and I realized it was going to be with Cheetah and whoever Mr. Wish was.
Max Lord, dude.
Yeah. I can't say my expectations were incredibly high at that point. And then, they stuck it in the 80s again. We're getting a lot of that shoved down our throats lately. It's a fun era. It's fun. I don't need it. And it didn't seem like this movie actually needed it either. So we're
gonna get into that because that is one of my criticisms.
But it was fairly low though, so I wasn't going in, waiting to be surprised.
Man, I was super hyped for it because the teaser that they released. Set to Blue Monday by New Order got me. Yep. Like, it was so good. One of the best superhero teasers I've ever seen. I was so freaking ready for it. Like, like the way that they used the music to the scenes that they were showing in that teaser. I was like, dude, that looks awesome. But just like Man of Steel had one of the great, superhero trailers and was not one of the great superhero movies. This one didn't go necessarily that way for me either. John, what were your expectations coming in?
Look, when I saw Wonder Woman trailer, Gal Gadot, I stood erect. I was full attention, and then I saw that it took place in the 1980s,
Well, you don't like shoulder pads?
My excitement started to dwindle. I mean, look, I wasn't overly excited for the movie. I wasn't overly skeptical. I tend to go into these things like a puppy. I just turn it on, check it out, and usually I like stuff, and I'm pretty easygoing with these things. But we'll get into it.
Yeah, what did you think of the decision to release it on HBO Max and whatever theaters are still open in this post-apocalyptic world that we're now in?
Release it on HBO Max and in Texas.
Only within the one
Florida.
theater that Davis goes to.
Florida and Texas, yeah.
Where Davis, the only one of us that I know that has been to a movie theater since this whole stuff started.
They closed down, man. I can't even go there now.
This actually might have been a good movie
Shocker,
to see.
Davis. Shocker.
This might have been a good one to see in like drive-ins, since that's making a revival.
Yeah, that's fun. But the HBO Max decision, I mean, I think it's cool. It might it's definitely sets a precedent.
Look, it's a sign of the times. I mean, I think when you look at the kind of subscriber numbers that like Disney's doing, didn't they report they have like 90 million active subscribers or something like that? So
yeah, something crazy.
They're printing almost $1 billion a month in recurring revenue off of Disney Plus. I feel like from like a revenue standpoint, they could probably make decent money putting these movies out on these apps. I think it's tough to do as many blockbusters as they had been doing because they cost so much to produce versus the return on. But I think that they could do like a rental system first if they want to give people like early or first access to these things, and then maybe make it like an event or have special features around it. I feel like it, to me, it's just a sign of the times. It's just a casualty of 2020 and early 2021. I don't think that this represents like the future of distribution for these kinds of films, this level of film. But you know, I feel like they, in a sense, they have to do it, right? Because like it's connected to a larger DCEU story, and they don't want to hold up the train for one movie when they have a bunch in the chamber that they're going to try to put out in the next few years.
Well, they've even said that their plans moving forward, at least for right now, is that they want, release 4 superhero films eventually a year in theaters, or whatever the hell that's going to look like.
Home theaters, yeah.
And two, 4 movies for Davis to go see, and then 2 quote riskier or sort of, lesser projects for HBO Max, or 2 ones that maybe they're just, that think are good, but not necessarily sort of the same box office draw to maybe the filthy casual.
Yeah,
but
I think that's fine. I don't think that you can spend the kind of money that they spend on these big DCEU films and make enough back by putting them out on HBO Max. But then again, maybe they are releasing these internationally in theaters in some areas, and they're doing a little bit better. So I don't know. I think it was fine. It sucks to watch these things at home, even if your TV is big, because the movie theater experience just feels
it's unique
good
and special.
Yeah.
Definitely makes me want to invest in a projector and do that later on in life.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, I think it would have been cool to see this in like a drive-in or something like that, just given the period nature of it.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely did. I mean, according to HBO Max, they are saying that Wonder Woman 1984 is already the most watched straight to streaming title, beating out Hamilton. So
okay, but again, it's like it's most watched, right?
Yeah.
But like people are paying their $10 for your service, and then they watched that. But then they also watch.
Some of them aren't even doing that. Some people are getting logins from old roommates or friends and things.
Yeah, or like
in-laws.
In-laws.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't
put me on blast like that. What the hell?
I don't understand how they're making money. Because is it tied to new viewers? Is it tied to new subscriptions? There's no ad revenue that I can see.
Well, it's all recurring subscriptions. So it's
right.
They essentially, you calculate the lifetime value of a user. So if let's say the average user subscribes for 4 months, and your project, 75% of the viewers on your project are new viewers, or people who are subscribed for 4 months, or whatever the LTV is, that's how much revenue the movie brings in. So that there is an equation for it, but it's not necessarily sustainable, because eventually you kind of have like full saturation on an audience.
Yeah, but then like again, how do you know that these new users are coming for that? That's now just an assumption.
I mean, you can track that. They could track that.
What was the studio that's only going to be on HBO Max?
Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So they're all going to be releasing these next year. So you have a bunch of blockbusters coming to HBO, and then
I don't think it works with like a huge volume of blockbusters in the long term. Like I think right now it's like their service bombed when it came out, and they're like clawing and scratching their way to try to get some sort of subscription that looks like Disney, but like Disney with 90 million. Like Disney is a ubiquitous service like Netflix. Like everyone who has kids has Disney. It's a required service just to like keep your kids fucking entertained and out of your hair. Like especially during the lockdown. HBO Max doesn't really have that angle. So they need something, and I think deploying a bunch of blockbuster films in a short period of time on the service like is a way to build up their content profile, but it's a short-term like marketing play. Like I don't think it's a long-term business plan, because these movies cost way too much to make, and in order to make that return they would have to be getting tons of new subscribers constantly.
Nah, man, they've got the two biggest coups already, or two of the biggest coups. They got Batman the Animated Series on there now, which is incredible. And they got fucking Gossip Girl on there now. They stole it from Netflix, and they got Gossip Girl, bro.
How many people live in that Venn diagram that James lives in, where it's like the 35,000 nerds that are still hanging on to Batman the Animated Series, and like
it's way more than that.
The 35,000 like people who are now in their mid 30s who liked Gossip Girl when it was real, when it was active, that remember it and like both.
I think it's James and the gay Florida nerd in Discord.
Dude, you know what? I'm in good company then. Guys hitting rocks in the Discord. I've been rewatching some Gossip Girl, man. That show is great.
Yeah, Davis, if you're asking if that business model is sustainable, I'm going to say no. Like, you can't build a streaming platform with that audience in mind.
I don't know. Do you know how many times James buys a game that he likes?
That's true.
How many times did you buy that game, James?
I bought Until Dawn at least 4 times at this point in time. And I will also be supporting all of their titles. It's a long story that I don't want to get into here in this Wonder Woman 1984 episode. Okay. Let's get into what we thought about the movie. Overall thoughts. So we talked about the expectations. What did you think overall of the movie, Davis?
Yikes!
That's a no-gasm.
That's a no-gasm for sure. Yeah, I had a hard time getting through this movie, to be quite honest. It took me 2 nights to get through it. I couldn't really stay awake during it. Maybe that's just my old man genes these days, but it was just not.
It was low oxygen levels.
It just wasn't doing it for me. I didn't care about the whole 80s hype of the whole movie. Cheetah, somebody nailed it in the Discord today, saying that she's just a ripoff of Catwoman from Batman, which is, the same character almost.
No.
They're not the same character.
I mean, look at the movies.
No, dude.
One Cheetah's power level is
no. I'm not saying power level. I'm saying like their background and just like their character.
No.
Yeah.
I actually liked Cheetah. So I enjoyed Cheetah in 1984. I think Kristen Wiig a little bit at the beginning was a little too over the top with, are you hacking up a Cheetah hairball there, Davis?
Dude, Kristen Wiig was looking nice though.
But in the very beginning, she was so, they were really trying to hammer home that she was socially awkward. It's like, I get it, dude. I get it.
But she's kind of just doing her thing though, right?
Yeah,
like it's easier. Like it's easier to believe.
I think she turned the volume up a little bit on it.
But it's easier to believe when she's being awkward than when she's trying to be like a hottie with a body all of a sudden. Like that's harder to believe with Kristen Wiig.
Yeah. I didn't have an issue with that because even the scene at the party with her, she's like trying to act like, oh, this old thing, but then she even cops who's like, no, I never dressed like this.
Can I ask who else paused it when she was trying to get her feet in the high heels?
No.
Nah.
Do
you think those were her feet? Do you think those are her feet?
Well, why are you obsessed with her feet, bro?
What? I'm not obsessed with feet, dude. What?
What's wrong with you, dude? All right. What was your overall thoughts on 1984?
Her
John?
feet? I think they were.
No. I always knew you were into that, John. You weirdo. I mean, if that's your thing, that's fine.
How is that weird? It's perfectly natural. I like Davis. I thought having it take place in the 80s. See, having the first one take place during World War I felt like a natural, good, interesting setting that contrasted with the Amazonian thing, right? Having this movie take place in the 1980s felt completely random. It felt like they're trying to draft off of Stranger Things, but they completely failed at that. I think it's tired. It's boring. It's not creative. It's totally uninspired. And I think that any time that they spent in the movie building that flavor of the 1980s just was super annoying.
Yeah,
like
the mall scene was super cringy.
The mall scene, even like the beginning where she like kicks the guys in the car and saves the woman who's running in like the neon, spandex or whatever.
Yeah.
And when she's taking Chris Pine around and like showing him all the technology and stuff, like it's tired, dude. Like literally pick any other decade. Why don't you be ahead of the curve and pick the 90s?
The 90s are coming. 90s nostalgia
but they should have done it here. It would have been fine. Like it's far enough away, dude. We're all super old. The 90s are ancient history. Like let's revisit it.
I am the only one that doesn't have a problem with the continued 80s nostalgia. I got a couple things to say about the early going of this movie. I liked the sort of montage of her saving people. And so when that started, I actually thought, I was like, awesome. Like, this is what sort of superhero movies sort of could bring. I thought I was optimistic because I was like, oh, are we getting kind of like Richard Donner Superman vibes here? The colors were popping. Like, it was very light, which is a stark contrast to how a lot of the DC EU movies have been. So I was like, I'm into that. I liked seeing her actually saving people. Yeah. And that's something that we never really got with Henry Cavill's Superman to this point. We got a little bit in Justice League, which was the best Superman that we've gotten to this point in this particular universe in terms of him just being Superman. So I actually really appreciated her. What? I don't think the Snyder cut's is gonna help me at all.
Snyder's totally gonna improve that, man. I can feel it.
So I actually appreciated that, but then we get to the Galleria, and I'm still trying to be on board. And it was super over the top, but I'm trying to sort of be open-minded about it. But some of the acting in this movie was just incredibly bad. Like the robbers in the Galleria were horrendous.
Well, I think that they went too far, a little bit too far. Like it was like even the acting was an homage to 80s style like acting.
Well, okay, so yes, I agree with that.
But it's not shot that way, and it doesn't feel like an 80s movie, so it just feels super out of place.
I'm glad you said that. It doesn't feel like an 80s movie.
No.
One of my main, like not main issues, but one of the things is I've rewatched this now just to sort of check how I feel about certain things. How are you going to sort of hype it's Wonder Woman 1984, and how do you have a Wonder Woman 1984 and not have a soundtrack with a handful of 80s pop bangers in it, dude? There was like one Frankie Goes to Hollywood song, and maybe like one other one that you could barely recognize. But as I was getting ready for this show, it just became more and more apparent because I was working today and getting ready for tonight's show, listening to 80s music on Spotify. I put on the Billboard hits from 1984 and I went backwards, and these are some of the songs that they could have had in this movie. Against All Odds, Holding Out for a Hero, Hungry Like the Wolf, Let's Hear It for the Boy. That would have played well when Chris Pine was trying on all the clothes. I mean, come on. It's like, they could have put in Blue Monday, which they used in the trailer, Time After Time. Girls Just Want to Have Fun. It's, there's the Cold War element. Can I get a 99 Luft balloons, please? Like, what is going on here? I love 80s.
I'm with you. But
the Warrior, it writes itself. Come on, man.
I'm with you, man. Even the way they like shot the movie wasn't
Africa by Toto.
it didn't capture the 80s vibe, even though they had like some 80s wardrobe and some references.
They like abandoned it very quickly.
Yeah.
It felt like they
No,
did the
it
mall
was-
scene. They
it
did the
was-
Chris Pine
it was
trying on
lazy.
clothes
It
thing,
was
and then it was just
super
like,
lazy setting. Yeah,
Yeah.
And then she like takes him around the town, and it's like, oh, here's a couple historical signposts. But like, why is this setting relevant to the story? Especially calling it 1984. Like of all the years in that decade, you reference an iconic book and concept, right?
Yeah.
And then your movie has nothing to do with that concept at all.
Yeah.
Like 1984 goes beyond a book. It refers to like an entire political philosophy.
mentality, yeah, for
Mentality,
sure.
yeah. And for
fear.
fear, exactly. For you not to even go into that at all. And I think as I was watching it, I was like, what would have been more interesting? Like maybe if they did a 1984 that was like an alternate reality 1984, where it's the 1984 that people from the early 1900s like were predicting, where it's like there is technology that's different
Big Brother.
and I don't know. The setting to me was the weakest part of the movie. I don't think it did the movie in. There are things that I liked about the movie. There's a lot that I liked about it. I thought it was a fine watch. Like Davis, I started it. I got like 30 minutes in. Pretty much nothing happened up to that point. I got really bored and I stopped watching it. And then I picked it back up today and finished it for the purpose of this podcast. And I actually really liked it. I feel like it took way too long for the story to get started. And for me to like get invested in the characters and stuff. And, honestly, like the setting really probably just ruined it for me, like turned me off early on, because I'm just over it, dude. Like Stranger Thing, even I'm even over Stranger Things doing it, but at least they were like the first to do it really, really well. And once someone did that, it's like, all right, that's theirs. Like now, if you're gonna do this, you got to go somewhere else
in Hollywood, though.
Yeah, but not with like a blockbuster though. Like that's what's crazy. Like you have like some of the best artists in the industry working on this movie. Like have them get creative. Like don't have them just copy somebody else. Like have them create the cultural moment.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think what I agree with the most is that it was lazy. They sort of arbitrarily picked the 80s. They did like a couple things with it, and then they sort of just went on their day. It was like set it and forget it, and people are just gonna. It was, whereas the World War I setting really worked in Wonder Woman from
permeated
2017,
the entire film
really,
too.
Yeah,
everything about
exactly.
that movie was that time period.
It's set certain limitations. So, that's one of the great things about setting stuff like this in, a time period, is that you can set it before cell phones are prevalent. You can limit how characters communicate with one another, so it can change the stakes and everything like that, which is one of the reasons why stuff like that works. Yeah.
That would have been really crazy and this would have been a huge risk, but would have been interesting, is to go so far into the future that like Batman is dead. Like the mortal limits of some of the other characters in the DCU are dead. Like, because this movie really doesn't connect with any of the other stuff that's going to come out with Justice League or, the DCEU.
It feels
so
completely standalone. There's no tie-ins.
Well,
doesn't seem like there's any Easter eggs whatsoever.
Yeah, so go to like 2077. You don't even have to reference Cyberpunk, because you just pick numbers at random that reference other shit.
The thing about that though is that this movie exists within that timeline, within that framework, and doesn't sort of telegraph anything that's to come about the DCEU. Right. So it exists within that continuity without changing anything.
Yeah,
and that's actually, one of the things that I do want to get into is that I think that they left some opportunities for shaping why Diana is how she is in Batman v Superman and Justice League, and they sort of left those on the table. But let's talk about some of the two of the new players. We touched on Cheetah a little bit, but what did you think of Pedro Pascal playing Max Lord, Davis?
Oh, Pedro. I really like Pascal. I like him a lot, but
I do too.
This character seemed it reminded me of like the first scene in the movie in the mall, where it just seemed he was missing the mark on the campness. of the character.
He went heavy camp, over the top kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it just put me off through the whole movie, except I will say for the end. I do like that the decision
He lost me
at the end. No, I because you don't see that much. You don't see that much with the villains, like actually like coming around and
I think
making that decision for their child. Like it's usually no, I'm still gonna be selfish or something like that, and he actually comes around, and that was actually surprising to me, and that was something different. I'm not saying they executed it well, but at least it was something new.
Hashtag parenting goals, you know.
I just didn't buy it at that moment, that because there was no indicator that he actually really gave two shits about his son. Certainly not enough to give up his entire world of dreams. But I don't know. There's something about him that I find the guy charming. So for most of the movie, I was just trying to really like him. And even though this is not a good movie, I do think there's certain aspects of it that is like so bad it's good. And he's going to be a guilty pleasure for me for a long time. Life is good, but it can be better. I
felt like his montage of going around getting wishes, like at the beginning, seemed right on point for the first couple guys that he went around to. Like it wasn't too over the top. He was still a little bit camp, but wasn't bad. And then it just went haywire again. Like that, but it did seem like there was a moment in the middle there where I thought he hit a good rhythm with him, and then he lost it.
John, what did you think of your favorite Mando?
I'm glad we got to see his face in this movie. I'm sad we didn't get to see his feet, but I'll take seeing one of the villain's feet over seeing none.
No Beskar. No Beskar in this movie.
Yeah. I loved his character. I'm not gonna lie. I love like I don't think he, as a villain he was like big enough, and I'll get to this in a second, but
yeah.
I love that he's like the scammer, like Ponzi scheme, like CEO of a penny stock.
He was actually an 80s villain.
Totally. Like the epitome of like how people get fucked over by greed and trusting someone like that. And then for him to like get power and see how he uses it is hilarious. I love him as a character. I don't feel like he should have been like the main, antagonist in this. I feel like, again, like why not have a female villain that's kind of the puppeteer, like the master in arms in a sense.
I get what you're saying.
And then have him be the like Kristen Wiig role,
I do think that, and let's talk about Cheetah again. I want to circle back to one of those points in a minute on the other side, John. But I do think that Cheetah was well done. I think especially, I liked how she looked at the end. I think in terms of the rendering and stuff like that, I thought she looked imposing. I think the movie would have benefited with more of her in it. So I think your point is well taken there. She was one of the standouts on the positive side, whereas Max Lord definitely more the guilty pleasure side. It's just so like I'll rewind. You know what? Maybe fuck me. Maybe that's what they intended, but I will rewind to laugh at the end scene when he's just yelling, "I'm a forgiving man." It's just so ridiculous. It's so dumb. I think the whole crux of the movie is pretty stupid. So let's take one more break and let's get into that on the other side, as this episode is becoming one big monkey paw wish. We're going to be talking about more Wonder Woman 1984 on the Best Damn Nerd Show.
Hey guys, it's the loquacious anime and manga lover Jahns here. Now I have watched a lot of anime and I've read an abundance of manga, so you would think that I have a pretty interesting opinion on the culture. From classics like Golden Boy and Ghost in the Shell to masterpieces such as Psycho Pass and Gantz. Come and join me as I talk about the world of anime and manga, which has had a huge impact on my life. And who knows, whatever I talk about and recommend to you guys could become one of your favorite series.
Ammo with Jammers.
It's the microphone alchemist Bimbo Jimbo here, and when I'm not verbally super kicking Last Jedi fans on the Best Damn Nerd Show, or fantasy casting The Rock in another movie on the DLC, well, that's when I actually get to talk about wrestling. That's right, come join me in the Wrestling War Room, where I take my mic to the mat and launch my hot takes about the Wednesday night war between AEW and NXT. The Wrestling War Room. Which side are you on?
What up, nerds? Lore Master Tim here. We're excited to be delivering your weekly fix of nerd culture, but it's not enough. We need your life force to sustain us. So use those hot little hands to subscribe, rate, and review us on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or however you take your medicine. One of our favorite pastimes on the BDNS is reading fan mail on air. So sing us a song of hatred or love, and you may just hear your beautiful words being featured on an episode. That's why it's important, nay, essential to rate and review us. Until then, as always, nerds, say it loud, say it proud.
Welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. James Kincaid, John Craig, and Chris Davis, and we are going to continue getting into Wonder Woman 1984. And before we sort of talk about more of what we didn't like, and there are some more things I want to circle back to, and John, you've made some great points, and so have you, Davis, and it's sort of cued some of the same thinking as I have. Let's talk about what we did like from this movie, because, look, I think this movie was bad. I do think this is one of those movies that I would watch if it just came on TV or would have on in the background, because there's just some, I don't know. It is a dumb popcorn movie, but it's a Hobbs and Shaw level stupid sort of thing. Although not as bad as Hobbs and Shaw. I didn't mean to insult it that badly, but it's just something I would.
Are you gonna pick this if it's just like showing on HBO or something like that? No commercials. Let's say it's no commercials.
Let's fast forward. And we're at some gathering or whatever, some type of, with friends, and this movie happens to be on the TV and it's near the dip. Yeah, I'm going to dip a chip and I'm going to watch a little Wonder Woman 1984. I'd enjoy it in that respect. I'm not going to really seek out this movie until I get until I sort of crystallize that loop of Pedro Pascal yelling at the end.
This is no one's favorite movie.
Dude, I've seen some people online say, because again, the reaction to this movie has been pretty polarizing in a lot of respects, but I've seen some people online saying, for instance, one person said this is the best superhero film at least in the last 5 years, and that's just
incorrect.
Yeah, I agree, but and he even said, he's like, he said you can disagree, but I wish you wouldn't, with a little wink, which I thought was clever. I'll give him credit for that. But what did you like about this movie, Davis?
The main thing I liked about this movie was the lore behind the wishing stone, just like how it crushed these civilizations. I wish they went more into it, and there was more about it. But I do like the idea of that, and what it did to past civilizations. I thought that was really interesting, and I really did want more of that, and you just didn't get it. Which is, maybe they could have went into that and brought more of the Amazonian stuff in, like we were talking about before. Like these could have been moments to bring more of that world in that I think really helps with Wonder Woman. But gosh, Chris Pine was fine. Like the acting was, he's a good actor. I do like Gal Gadot, and I thought, her acting was fine. It's just not a good story. I still think she's a very good Wonder Woman. So
I think in terms of standouts, I think the chemistry between Diana and Steve Trevor remained just off the page good in this movie. I think it's so believable between Gal and Chris. Mm-hmm. It just, I buy every bit of that, and every scene, it's completely believable to me, and it feels earned. And so in terms of standout, like in both movies, it's that for me. Their chemistry is terrific. And I enjoyed that here in this movie, and even in a movie in which I thought most of the plot was incredibly stupid and not well explained, and the lack of lore that really hurt it. When she has to say goodbye to Steve again, to me, that's an incredible moment. Her saying, "I'll never love again," and him catching her and saying, "Well, I hope that's not true, because there's a great world out here and it deserves you," all that stuff. And when she walks away and renounces her wish, and he says, "I'll always love you, Diana, no matter where I am." Oh, terrific. Like that to me was the best scene of the whole movie. And I just thought that was so phenomenal. And the callbacks to how they interacted in the first film, it was that was really well done stuff, I thought. John, what did you like about 1984?
I liked the cast. I liked the Max Lord character. I thought that Cheetah was interesting. I'm trying not to be negative. it felt like some just workplace drama between two women for a while there at the Smithsonian, but once the characters kind of fully came into their own, it was good. I don't know. I like the casting, and that's pretty much it, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's totally fair.
Look, the story was fine. I like watching the Max Lord character go around and be up to his shenanigans. I liked, as you said, the chemistry between Gal and Chris Pine, and the way that those two characters interact is great, and I love that love story. And so I'm glad that they brought him back, and that was a nice carryover.
They need to figure out a way to bring him back in every movie, and she has to lose him again.
Yeah.
at the end of all of them.
It's like the time machine.
1,000 deaths, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So there definitely were things that I liked. Like I said, like when I finally did commit to watching it, I did enjoy the watch, despite my criticisms.
Yeah. I mean, there were, I did find myself having fun with it, but I knew I was watching, I was like, this is not good.
Yeah.
This is just not a good movie. It's a mess. This movie is a mess. They're just making wishes. They found this rock, like that you talk about the lore, Davis. One of my issues with this is that they go to that guy with the Jerry Lawler magazine, that's, talking about past lives and stuff. And that's where we get all of the lore in the whole movie about what the whole plot is, which is the Dreamstone that they're wishing on and everything like that. That's not a great way to get that over, because it just felt kind of silly and stupid to me, because they're making wishes, and then it's like, oh, I take back my wish and stuff like that. That's like, I don't know, it was dumb. But if you'd peppered in,
the whole first 10 minutes of the movie takes place in the Amazon, but it's not anything important. It's just
that's exactly where I'm going.
Random motherfucking event that just happens, and then we just move on. We learn nothing about any of the characters.
So you do that scene. You do that scene, and when Diana falls off her horse in the race, why can't we have because the Duke of Deception, right? He made the Dreamstone. He's the father of lies. He tempts you, right? Why couldn't Diana have faced a temptation either in her mind from the Duke of Deception, which is why she chose to take the shortcut, or even him in disguise as some other person? But I think mentally makes more sense because Themyscira is hidden or whatever. But why some type of Sauron-esque voice that tempts her, and she chooses to take the shortcut? And that's like a lesson learned, so that when she now comes face to face with this again, she knows how seriously bad this is.
Right. But you see it even more, like you learn more about it, even if it's like completely telegraphing kind of like what's going to happen later on. Like at least you have that framework, and it doesn't come out just randomly. And then again, missed opportunity with them working at the Smithsonian, where information about that time period could be revealed.
Well, they kind of do that with the microfiche, but it was like just sort of showing off Cheetah's powers instead.
Right, but like, why not have her or someone like lecturing about?
Yeah,
like there could be academic elements to the film that take you through the history and lore while other stuff is happening that kind of get you up to speed. Like, it's such an opportunity that not a lot of other superheroes have, to help bring these elements of this world in, and they really don't do anything with it.
I think that the longer that Max had become the Dreamstone, the more he should have just been sort of losing his will to the Duke of Deception, almost like a summoning. And, so that way Max is the big bad, but there's this sort of the godlike element to it again. And I know people might cry foul that, oh, that's what they did in the first movie or whatever. But look, this is the lore of Wonder Woman. She's going to be very tied to that stuff. They already tied it back in anyway.
That's okay if it's like archetypes, right? Like,
correct.
If it's like, here's a like philosophical construct, and like people people are like channeling rods for these philosophical constructs, and that's how they manifest in the world. Like, you can represent different ideals. You can be the god of war incarnate on Earth if that's the philosophy that you follow, or really any other philosophy. There's such opportunity with these movies, and even with her as a character, but I just, it seems like they'd rather just goof around and run around in a mall and be like, look, there's a Walden Books behind them. Like, isn't that a fucking awesome reference? Jesus, that story. Remember that place? There's a Walden Books. That's the
thing
story
is, they
point.
didn't even hang a light on that as much as they should have.
Dude, who gives a fuck about that?
But
honestly,
I think that more lore would have done this movie a world of good, though, because the concept is stupid.
This is where we agree about lore for the first time ever.
It's silly if you don't give us a little bit more to work with other than I make a wish, I take it back, right?
Dude, there's so much opportunity for it.
And every single person recanted their wish, right?
Well, also, this is
what?
When can you just unwish wishes? Like, I don't know. That was like a new. I renounced my wish. Even I renounced my subscription to HBO Max.
Dude, we even get more. We even get more lore and world building from the Thor movies, which are just straight up comedies.
Well, now they are. Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
But they pretty much have, like, there were
something
a lot of
something that Green Lantern did really well was the lore of the Green Lantern Corps and stuff like that. And I thought the first Wonder Woman did a good job of establishing who the Amazons were. But now we need to go a little bit deeper in sort of their paragon of deities and stuff like that.
It's a tough task to follow up. Like, the first movie in any superhero sequence is going to be the easiest because there's so much to pull from, just establishing who they are and like roughing out their character over the course of defeating this first big villain. But the second movie is going to be challenging. It's going to be hard. I think that's where you need to like really dig deep and, like you said, go into the lore. Like, for the first time, I'll agree with you. The lore is very, very important in this context. You don't just
this movie is how John quests in World of Warcraft.
Yeah, essentially.
It's like, I don't know, there's like a stone, they're making wishes on it, and I gotta like herd up like 10 people to renounce their wish, and then I can advance to the next level.
Basically, yeah, very hollow feeling.
But they need the gods and the lore behind it, because I can't get behind a Wonder Woman movie because she does need to fight a god at the end. I'm sorry, I don't feel like she's any threat to Cheetah at all.
I see. I actually thought one of the smart things that they did in terms of how they robbed her of her powers, because
that's
the
great.
Wish takes that away. But I do think that she should have been fighting more with Cheetah throughout this movie, because I think the believability, the physical threat to her was actually done pretty well with Cheetah. But I just wanted more of that. There was no intimidation factor from Max Lord. No. There was none. But if he's becoming, as we see him decaying over the course of the movie, if he is becoming sort of more and more lost to this Duke of Deception, and that's a thing you could do. But also how he is touching everybody with the particles from like this weird SDI system was so, it just, dude, this is a stretch, man. And this is even for a superhero movie, that is a big time stretch, I felt like. And can we talk about the worst actor in the world? The guy that played the president in this movie? Holy shit. What was that?
Is that worse than the shell of a body that Chris Pine took over?
I didn't have a problem with him. At least, he was easy on the eyes. No, but that guy was terrible, dude. He was just like, what are we doing? I'm not even sure he's a real man. Was he part Muppet? Like, what the fuck, dude?
I think there might have been a hand up in there. I don't
know. God, it was so bad.
I mean, they had to cut budget somewhere, so.
Well, speaking of cut, but the special effects in this didn't even look that great. No. And I think that they were going for, again, this sort of stylized Richard Donner-esque Superman vibes. But they had already sort of gone so off the rails. There was none of that goodwill. Nobody was having a good time by the time we're in Cairo and we get this super cheesy close-up of her doing the slow motion running. It looked so terrible, awful. Like, what the fuck? What are we doing here?
I mean, I think it would have been interesting if they like shot for shot copied a bunch of like 80s movies and shot it on film and made it look like made it look like an 80s movie. You know what I mean? Use the same like lensing and like really get that feel. Then I think this concept maybe works a little bit better. And then we can kind of forgive some of the other things. But even that's just the aesthetic. Like the story still isn't going to be there.
Yeah, and again, I think a little bit more lore cures maybe some of the ills with that we're just wishing and unwishing on this rock. At least Steve Trevor put it over with talking about the monkey's paw and stuff like that. But the special effects were not good. I do like, and this is going to sound like sort of just I mentioned it towards the top of the show. I do like the color of this movie, though, the brightness of it, the sort of vibrance of it. I do appreciate that in this. And I think you can tell a serious story without a movie looking like a Ridley Scott
desaturated
film.
Well, that's one issue that they have with all these DCEU movies. They all go too heavily into the Snyder look.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think that it makes sense for Batman. And maybe even makes sense for Justice League if it's anchored around Batman. I don't think it makes sense for Man of Steel. I don't think it makes sense for Aquaman. I don't think that all of those should look like Wonder Woman either. Like, there are, dozens of ways to color a film, and they're going with the same aesthetic on all of these except this one. And it's
Aquaman deserves a lot of credit too, because that did have a lot of vibrancy and stuff in it as well. So maybe credit where credit is due there. You mentioned Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder would have helped this movie in one respect. That guy knows how to use sound and music throughout a movie. You go back and watch Watchmen. He took the soundtrack that should have been in this movie and used it in Watchmen.
That's a good point.
It's absurd. I think he would have at least bring him on as a consultant. Anyway, you can't put Sweet Dreams by the Eurythmics in this. It was out in 1984.
Just let him get a director's cut of this.
Yeah, well, that's going to be his new job. It's like, let me just touch that.
Let me just get in there. Just give me a couple of weeks with it. It's
going to Bob Ross all these movies. One topic I do want to discuss is there's been a lot of talk online and in our very own Discord, bestdamnnerdshow.com/Discord, about the body swapping element of Steve Trevor. They didn't just bring him back. He actually possessed another person's body. And he and Diana were
against
intimate. They were intimate. And so this raised a lot of ire online and a lot of discussion in our Discord about if you took issue with that. I am of the opinion that, like, with all of the many myriad of things in this movie, that's not something that even came across my radar until I saw it pop up online. Actually, somebody started texting me about it, like this crazy review of the movie that claiming that Diana acts like a sociopath in the movie because of it. How did you feel about it? Was this something that you sort of jumped out to you right away? Because being completely honest, it did not move my needle whatsoever. Did not cross my mind. And I don't think it crossed the creator's mind either. Davis?
No, that scene itself did not even cross my mind. When we've talked about in the Discord and with each other, it does just seem like an oversight to me. However, I don't understand the necessity of even taking over a body. Like, you have a wishing stone, this dream stone, and we are already dispending our belief for Wonder Woman, a woman turning into a cheetah, and a wishing stone in general. You don't think that we can dispend our
just
belief
bring
even
his body
more
back?
for a guy coming back? Why on earth does he need to take over another body? It doesn't make any fucking sense.
I mean, the argument, I guess the only argument to be made is like, well, it's the monkey's paw, you don't get exactly what you wished for kind of deal. So you got his soul back in somebody else's body or whatever. But, then the rest of the movie, we're just looking at Chris Pine, though. So they sort of even abandoned that I think they did. I honestly think they did it for the cool sort of way that he's revealed by taking off his whatever Casio or whatever and the vastly superior goodbye. But I think you could still do that goodbye and have him sort of hiding behind that pillar, because it's not like he's transforming back into that dude. He is that dude. Like, she just sees him that way. Yeah. So I think that they could have still done it with it. Look, we're doing magic stuff. We got a magic rock. You could just bring him back, like Davis said.
It
but
doesn't make sense.
it didn't cross my mind. John, what did you think?
So you're saying people had an issue with like the non-consensual sex that she was having with this character?
Yes.
Well, I mean, hey, I guess it's nice to know that that's a two-way street, but I think that's a stupid fucking thing to worry about when you're watching this. Like I'm watching that scene, and for the next like 10 minutes, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here? Like I don't understand like what. It's such a complicated concept that this guy's soul is being resurrected or injected into this guy's body, and then they just like cursory go like, he's like, yeah, I was somewhere and now I'm here. It's like, the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like you're
Jeff even texted me that Steve Trevor was implying there is a heaven and that he was in it, so that's cool.
Or a hell. Who knows?
Well, he said it was.
He was
good.
somewhere.
He said it was not bad. He said it was good.
But like what? Like it's too much, dude. It's too much for us to be going through at the same time, like in the same moment that he's looking in the mirror and he's like fucking doing eye shit, and he's like, "Is it me? Is it him? Is it me? Is it him?" Like, "Oh, this guy's pretty good looking, if you ask me." And then she's like, "I only see you." Like it's just fucking weird, dude. Like if you want to be like deep and you want to have this cool sci-fi element to it, you know, like let's get into that. Like let's really get into like the science of it or the spirituality of like how the fuck this is happening. Let's not just gloss over this like crazy thing that is happening, which is like more than any other wish that happens in the movie. That's a pretty remarkable wish, right?
Sure.
But that aside,
I like the guy that wished for coffee.
Yeah. That aside,
Got it.
I wonder what they took from him.
I'm with you guys that it's not even necessary.
Yeah.
Because you could either like bring his body back, which would have been at least if they gloss over all the other shit, at least you're not sitting there like distracted by the fact that he's in this other guy's body and like that's not you're not even thinking about that anymore, because that's super distracting and weird. But even if they don't have to like bring his body back from the dead, they could, you know, in the same way that like the FBI just happens to show up to be investigating that guy and like this
because where were they before that? They clearly had to appear.
Or like when the secretary asks for help or wishes for help,
Raquel.
people are just there to help, right? Like, what if Steve is just
there
alive still, and he's old? He's just an old man. He's been
that's
alive.
A good monkey. That's a good monkey paw.
He's been alive. We didn't know it, but they're still in love, and she's still in love with this guy. He's just extremely old.
And then it becomes a Blue Chew ad.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Well, I mean, honestly, I know he would have been. I mean, how old would he have been? Like 90 something.
Probably, yeah.
But hey, fuck it. Like, do it. Like, I don't know. Why they being ageist? You know what I mean?
It didn't cross my radar. I do think there is an aspect, not for necessarily the people in our Discord, because we do have such. I don't know. I appreciate the sort of discussion from our listeners that did sort of find issue with it.
Yeah.
But the vitriol I've seen online about it, heavy sort of bombs being thrown around accusing this movie of promoting rape culture and stuff like that. If you have a problem with the sex, then you have to have a problem with the fact that Steve Trevor and Diana are endangering this guy's very life throughout the entire movie, and that there's no consent for that either. They are putting his life in jeopardy throughout the entire film. He's getting his ass handed to him. So when that guy takes the body back over, he's like, why do I have like 3 broken bones, like all these bruises and stuff like that? I have a bullet wound, all this stuff. So you can't just single out one.
Who's actually
the online trolls?
Yeah, but is it so? Is it like for lack of a better term, like SJW crowd, or
it got mainstream enough to where Patty Jenkins has actually responded on Twitter about it.
Because it seems to me
my
like
issue
it would be it's like almost like a reaction to the SJW canceling that's been happening, where it's like you have this crowd that's always looking for some sort of like injustice and slight that happens to whatever, and as a reaction to that, there's a bunch of like sweaty dudes out there looking for something to be outraged that can like poke back at that. And you
Look,
have
if you want to be mad about something
you
about
have a
this
great
movie,
example of it because you have this film that's about a female protagonist, so it already gets all these fucking idiots worked up and pissed off. It's like, what, they can't have one movie? Jesus Christ, dude, you need every movie to be about a male protagonist? The fuck is wrong with you? Go watch Batman for the 27th time.
If you want to be mad about something about this movie, be mad about the lack of 80s pop bangers in Wonder Woman 1984.
Exactly.
That's one thing away.
Be angry about the stuff that matters.
Because I love, look, if you take nothing else away from this podcast, I love 80s music, and I was sorely disappointed at the lack thereof.
I'm with you, James. Like, I think that stuff would have improved if they're really trying to sell this setting. I think that would have improved it.
If you're going to go,
I can't believe I didn't even
full
think
cheese.
about that.
Dude, it was brutal. You're at that party, and you give me a Frankie Goes to Hollywood instrumental, and that's it? Fuck you, dude.
The
Come
first
on.
Time, the first
Wasn't
time I
even
heard
relax.
First time I heard about this potential rape thing was, I didn't even know this was a deal online.
Ricky, censor that word.
Oh, this episode's never being released.
It was our own Tim Childs on our Discord going, are they talking about that movie where Godot rapes a dude?
Yeah, Tim logs in for 25 seconds to light a fire. And
I was attaching my caboose to that train. I'm on board, Tim. I'm with you, buddy.
That is the straw that Tim would stir and just parachute out and just laugh and go about his day.
That concept is something that someone in like World of Warcraft trade chat would say just to piss everybody off and troll. Like, it's not. No one is actually bothered by that. If you are, there's something wrong with you.
I think it was an interesting discussion in Discord, but yeah, if you take it super seriously and you actually let it sort of, I don't know, ruin your viewpoint on this movie, I don't know what to tell you. Let's keep it with Discord. Let's keep it with Discord.
It's not genuine, dude. It's a bad faith argument, but go ahead.
Let's keep it with Discord and let's keep it with reviews because I went on there and asked for some reviews of Wonder Woman 1984. So I love, sort of generating more Discord involvement because we have the best listeners in the world. Maybe I'll get some more nerdies next year. We'll see. But let's take it to the Discord and see some of the things that they said. 1 lasso of truth out of 3 lassos of truth. Lukey Pukey. This one is actually not from the Discord, but from my very own father who watched, when I rewatched it, was with me. This is the kind of movie that makes you lose brain cells. That's my dad, Robert. So yeah, good on you. And to his credit, he really enjoyed the first one. So he did not love this one though. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. Just a random Discord user. BT Dubs gang saw Wonder Woman last night. That movie sucked. Glad some of you enjoyed it, but I was embarrassed for Warner Brothers watching it. Didn't seem like a finished movie. Cheetah was good. WW84 is worse than Bill and Ted 3. Commissar JB. Thank you, loyal listener, Commissar JB.
Yeah.
For your review. I give it 2 invisible jets, I gave it 2 invisible jets out of 2 visible jets. Thumbs down. That comes from P Cool. We haven't even talked about the invisible jet. In terms of a just a throwaway sort of moment in the film, I didn't hate it. I kind of liked the justification for the invisible jet.
Yeah, no, that worked for me. I was like, okay, and it didn't look weird or anything like that, and they included it, and that's part of Wonder Woman, and at least they got that right. So.
All right, this comes from Stashed Is. Why does Wonder Woman wish for Steve to come back in someone else's body? How does he instantly know how to fly an F-11? Why does the museum have access to a working F-11? The 2 baddies were a genie and an insecure 42-year-old woman. I like Kristen Wiig, but why was she cast for that role? That is all. Thank you. Stashed Is. Your thoughts, Davis?
I do like the museum point. What museum has an active working jet? And how the hell does he know how to fly that thing?
The Vatican probably does.
Has technology not improved since World War I? We're just spending belief here, I know, but
cue somebody with Brian Cox from X-Men 2. It's like, this facility is a museum. Sure it is. They have an F-11 that comes up from the basketball court.
Stash doesn't make too many good points on Discord, but at least he nailed some things here. So.
Gay Florida Nerd. It was what the first movie was. Just fine. Dungeon Master R. Cooper Katie says it's the best DC movie except for the first Wonder Woman. So below average. Gay Florida Nerd responded, best in a low category doesn't make it amazing. Just a big fish in a small pond. It was fun enough.
Zach agree.
Yeah, Zach Warlord, it was a fun watch, but a bad movie. I didn't mind it, though. Codfish says, as Steve Trevor said of his body in the Wonder Bath, above average is what I would also say of WW84. Let's see if we got any other reviews. I do have to point out that Gay Florida Nerd is adamant about the fact that if Chris Pine, that any physical interaction with Chris Pine is automatically consensual because it's Chris Pine and he is hot as fuck. So just need to point that out there. But yeah, any other closing thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984? There are some things that we didn't hit on. That we certainly can hammer it for more. But anything that you want to say, Davis, that you haven't already gotten out of your system?
No, I mean, are we doing our ranking system since it's a little movie, or?
Sure, go ahead. Yeah. I'm not prepared to rank it, but if you want to give it whatever, I'll come up with it on the fly. We busting out the broken controllers again?
Let's see who remembers what they are. Yeah, broken controllers.
Well, okay, so explain your rating system, Davis, because for our new listeners might not know.
Okay. My ranking system is from 5 broken controllers, which is a 0, to 5 regular controllers, which is a 10. So it's a sliding scale, and I would I'd give this a 3.5 broken controller.
It's pretty bad. It's very bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bad movie. What can I say though? I mean, I can't be surprised by that. John, do you have a rating system, or should I go first while you could sort of tabulate?
I mean, I don't have like a rating system to cook up, but my closing thoughts are, this is the greatest movie ever made, and if you don't like this movie, it's because you're a sexist fucking pig, and you're not welcome on our Discord. You're not welcome on our show. You're not welcome in nerddom and the nerdosphere.
John is canceling himself.
You need to come correct. I'd give it a I'd give it like a 2 out of 5. I don't know. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen. I would never choose to watch this again. If it's on somewhere, would I glance at the screen and be like, oh, that's Wonder Woman? Yeah.
I think I would have had fun watching it with all of you guys. Like, we would have been having a good laugh at this movie's expense. I think this is in the so bad it's good camp in terms of that sort of enjoyment level with it. It's just,
I don't even think it's
a good background movie.
It's not that even that bad. It's not even that bad that it's good though. Like it's even worse because it's not even that bad. Like you know what I mean?
So somehow they even failed at being awful.
It's like a U. Like the rating system is like a U. Like the worst. Like if you get to a 0 or a 1, it like becomes good again.
It's on a like a parabolic scale.
Yeah, like the movie Dragon Wars. Like that movie is so bad that it's actually a really excellent movie.
I'm gonna give it a boosh. Just a solo boosh for the memes that may come out of it. But yeah, I don't know, man. Lacking in lore, lacking in good acting, except for Chris Pine and Gal Gadot or Gal Gadot. I'm still not quite sure how to pronounce her name. Apologies, but we'll never interview you, so who cares?
Friend of the show, Gal Gadot. So
yeah, well, that rhymes, so let's go with Gal Gadot. But I really appreciated all the conversation in Discord. That is bestdamnnerdshow.com/Discord, and that is going to do it for this Wonder Woman 1984 edition of the Best Damn Nerd Show. I'm going to go listen to some 80s music. Have a great week, everyone, and remember, if you're a nerd, always say it loud and say it proud.
Imagine all the people.
Yeah, and like
that's the one you'd go with.
not one person said, I wish that motherfucker dropped dead. Not with all the trolls out there.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
It was a fine movie. I don't know.
It was not a fine movie. It was a fine watching experience because it was so stupid.
That's what I mean though. Like it was way too long. I should have said that.
Yeah, that is true too. It was way too long.
It should have honestly been like a 90-minute movie.
Yeah, if you make that, you can't excuse not having that little exposition for that long of a movie.
Dude, if they would have cut that down to 90 minutes and it just would have been like super punchy, like fast.
The camp might have worked.
References, it might have, dude. Honestly, like the pacing was so bad. Like I said, it honestly took. I think at the 1 hour mark is when he steals the wish stone, and you're like, oh. Now the story is like now something is about to happen.
You're right. If they cut the runtime down, and again, I think they should have just leaned super hard into the camp vibes.
Okay,
if they want to do Richard Donner Wonder Woman, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Imagine this is the beginning of the movie. Instead of some random triathlon that she's competing in, it's like a speech by one of her coworkers at the Smithsonian that she's listening in on about the time period that she lived in. It gives you some background for what is going to happen in this movie. Like it sets some things up, some mythical story, right? But she has flashbacks and remembers some of it.
Yeah.
And you're getting to visualize some of it while.
How about she talks to the dude afterward, and she can even be like, a lot of your theories were interesting, and she could even say it in sort of a dismissive way. So you get sort of like the mansplaining element of it. She lived through it. How about that motherfucker's the Duke of Deception? So I mean,
and maybe yeah, exactly. God, it would have been so much more interesting.
They're just.
Missed opportunities, man.
Yeah, they just left a lot on the table for because it is such a look. And I love superhero movies, but it's a fucking silly. It's a silly plot device. I'm wishing on this rock. That's the whole.
I'm okay with that though.
I'd be more okay with
like
it.
A conduit. It's a conduit for like this larger.
But if you
power,
I'm fine with that if you put that power over to me in a way that's serious. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they come across it. And the characters dismiss it as a forgery and something stupid. It's citrine. That right there, like I'm like, okay. So they're sort of shitting on the rock, like right when we see it, and we don't get any. Like I just think if they had built up what it was and who the Duke of Deception was and everything like that, it would have made a world of difference and sort of my buy-in factor on the movie.
I agree, but you have to start the movie with that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the lecture hall thing is a great take on it. I think you can do it
where they work.
Yeah,
because people that work at the Smithsonian are like masters or PhDs in history. Like they're world-class academics studying this stuff.
And you can do it
to hear it from them.
You can do it a couple different ways too. Is that you can start with that. And then she hears something, and that's when she has to go, and then we get the her saving people montage. Or we could get the her saving people montage, and she comes in late kind of deal.
Ooh.
Because then it's like, oh, she's changing out of her superhero outfit.
The movie with her saving people.
Yeah, and then it's like she's coming in late, and this guy's talking.
That's a great idea. Let's do our cut.
The BD&S cut of WW84.
I mean, that at least you would have come into the movie hot, like ready to watch whatever comes next, and then you just trim an hour out of the rest of the movie, and have it connect more with that beginning, and give us more of the history like throughout the movie, and you're good to go.
Which actor do you keep if they're all Muppets, except for one?
Hey everyone, Chris Seglia, CEO of the 10 Media Network here. Thank you so much for listening to our content, but we need your help. Please rate us 5 stars, subscribe, and give us a shining review wherever you listen to this podcast. It really, really helps us out. And one more thing, please tell a friend if you can. Tell them Tasty Steve, Hanzo Gonzo, Markman, Rip, Ricky Replay, or someone who everyone loves sent you or something. That might help. Anyway, again, thank you for listening. And if you want more, make sure to check us out at www.ten-o.gg. www.10o.gg.